let's get things started. Do me a favor, y'all. This is Burn It Down with Kim Brown every Tuesday and Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Please give the video a thumbs up. Welcome to all our folks watching this live and watching later. Well, some of y'all might have been put straight to sleep or blinked if you missed it. The CNN interview with Vice President Kamala Harris and her would-be vice presidential nominee assistant, Timmy Balls to the Walls. Dana Bash from CNN got the first interview with Kamala Harris since she has been made the Democratic presidential nominee. And when I tell you it was a fucking snoozer, it was a goddamn snoozer. It was typical of an interview that I would expect from the Complicity News Network, from the corporate news network, from the capitalist news network. CNN gave me precisely what I thought they was going to give me. And if you didn't get a chance to watch it, we're going to watch at least 2/3 of it together. So, because it never hurts to do even a cursory media analysis of the ways that the corporate media intentionally distorts issues, prioritizes so-called wedge and or culture war issues over the material concerns of everyday Americans and people that live in this country. And I'm not saying that an issue like immigration isn't important, but as far as we're concerned, the Harris Walz ticket might as well be fucking Trump and Vance out in this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Kamala talk a tiny bit better. She don't talk about building a wall, but she still talks very greasy to migrants that are seeking asylum in this country, seeking a better opportunity in this country, and usually fleeing an unstable political environment from their home countries that was facilitated and exacerbated, if not outright orchestrated, by the United States government, right? All right, so Will, do me a favor. We're gonna pop Kami and see, I don't even want to call her Kami. She don't deserve that. Cop Mala. Let's pop up Cop Mala and Timmy and put me in the low box and on the low because I'm gonna ask you to pause it hither and thither. We're gonna do the hustle and the bustle through this joint. So here we are, CNN's Dana Bash. What these journalists will do for access, kids. I tell you what they won't do. They won't do their fucking jobs. Will, let's go ahead and run it.
Sitting down with me and bringing the bus. The bus tour is well underway here in Georgia. You have less time to make your case to voters than any candidate in modern American history. The voters are really eager to hear what your plans are. If you are elected, what would you do on day one in the White House?
Well, there are a number of things. I will tell you, first and foremost, one of my highest priorities is to do what we can to support and strengthen the middle class. When I look at the aspirations, the goals, the ambitions of the American people, I think that people are ready for a new way forward, in a way that generations of Americans have been fueled by hope and by optimism. I think, sadly, in the last decade, we have had in the former president someone who has really been pushing an agenda and in an environment that is about diminishing the character and the strength of who we are as Americans, really dividing our nation. And I think people are ready to turn the page on that.
So what would you do day one?
Day one, it's going to be about, one, implementing my plan for what I call an opportunity economy. I've already laid out a number of proposals in that regard, which include what we're going to do to bring down the cost of everyday goods, what we're going to do to invest in America's small businesses, what we're going to do to invest in families, for example, extending the child tax credit to $6,000 for families for the first year of their child's life, to help them buy a car seat, to help them buy baby clothes, a crib.
Pause that for me. Thank you so much. So Kamala Harris has been talking, I don't know what, a couple minutes now, and that's the first very specific thing that she says regarding the child tax credit, which again is a piece of policy that has already been put in place, was allowed to expire, and I'm very curious why it was allowed to expire. But regardless, let's talk about Dana Bash's opening question. What are you going to do on day one? When I tell you that is such an empty calorie of a question, it is a nothing burger of a question. Let's be realistic here. What do most president-elects or presidents on day one? What the fuck are they doing? They are transitioning. Okay. The new Congress is being sworn in. The new president is literally transitioning to the White House. Now, Kamala Harris is going to have an advantage should she be the winner of this election, obviously, because she is the successor to the current sitting president, right? So her transition may not be what most new presidents may be. But even still, what are you going to do on day one? We're talking about a 4-year term. How about maybe we stretch this out? Why don't we ask the question, what are you going to do year one? Because I think that is a more reasonable question to ask. What legislation are you going to work with the Democrats in Congress to craft specifically in order to better improve Americans or people that reside here, their material condition? And it took her 2.5 minutes to say something specific. All of that hope and optimism for improving the middle class, that is fucking rhetoric. That shit is PR, speechwriter, poetry. That don't mean nothing. George W. Bush promised hope and optimism. All these fucking terrible presidents promise hope and optimism. What is your policy? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Will. Let her run.
There's the work that we're going to do that is about investing in the American family around affordable housing, a big issue in our country right now. So there are a number of things on day one.
What about you?
Well, I'm excited about this agenda too. As I said, the idea of inspiring America to what can be. And I think many of these things that the vice president's proposing are things that we share in values. And the child tax credit is one we know that reduces childhood poverty by 1/3. We did it in Minnesota to have a federal partner in this. Unbelievable, I think, in the impact that we can make.
You talked about, you call it the opportunity economy. You are well aware that right now many Americans are struggling. There's a crisis of affordability. One of your campaign themes is we're not going back. But I wonder what you say to voters who do want to go back when it comes to the economy specifically, because their groceries were less expensive, housing was more affordable when Donald Trump was president.
You know who to call when you need a plumber.
shit.
Now let's
Whoops, sorry. Our bad. Real quick, hold on, pause it. Well, I let me say the presence of Tim Walz in this interview I find to be very, very strange. I don't quite understand what is the purpose of having the vice presidential nominee there, except to show America that there will be a white man at arm's reach. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, wait. It's fine. If Kamala scares you with her light skin in her silk press. If this light-skinned biracial woman frightens you, there's a white man right there, America. Don't be afraid. The white man is in proximity. Everything's going to be okay. All right. I'm sorry, Will. Go ahead.
That when Joe Biden and I came in office, during the height of a pandemic, we saw over 10 million jobs were lost. Literally, we were all tracking the numbers. Hundreds of people a day were dying because of COVID.
Not tracking those
The
numbers
economy
anymore.
had crashed. In large part, all of that because of mismanagement by Donald Trump of that crisis. When we came in, our highest priority was to do what we could to rescue America. And today, we know that we have inflation at under 3%. A lot of our policies have led to the reality that America recovered faster than any wealthy nation around the world.
People don't feel
But
that.
you are right. Prices, in particular for groceries, are still too high. The American people know it, I know it, which is why my agenda includes what we need to do to bring down the price of groceries. For example, dealing with an issue like price gouging, what we need to do to extend the child tax credit to help young families be able to take care of their children in their most formative years, what we need to do to bring down the cost of housing. My proposal includes what would be a tax credit of $25,000 for first-time home buyers, so they can just have enough to put a down payment on a home, which is part of the American dream and their aspiration, but do it in a way that allows them to actually get on the path to achieving that goal and that dream.
So you have
Hit
been
pause
vice
real quick,
president for
Will.
3.5 years.
Yeah.
Hit pause real quick. So again, she's beating this drum with this same policy. She keeps referencing the child tax care, and that's cute and that's lovely. Well, I mean, do you have anything else specific when you talk about Kamala? That is when she talks about price gouging. She wants to attack price gouging in what way exactly? We have laws on the books already to combat so-called price gouging, right? But I'm not hearing I'm not hearing exactly how you intend to do this. Is you intend to do this legislatively? Do you intend to make sure that the Department of Justice perhaps goes after companies or industries that are engaging in price gouging? Like, what does that do in the immediacy or even in the short term after her becoming president? What does this quote price gouging addressing? What does this do to address inflation in the short term? It doesn't. It doesn't. I'm sorry. I just wanted to point that out. But and the housing thing, I'm sorry, $25,000 down or a credit of $25,000 for home buyers or first-time home buyers. That sounds fantastic. Let me tell you, the FHA loan, the what is it? The Federal Housing Act, the ability for people to obtain a mortgage through the government by only putting down 3.5% versus the 20% that people have to get if they go for a conventional bank mortgage. And listen, the 3.5%, that compared to 20% down, that's a good program. You know what I'm saying? What can we do to strengthen that? Because that to me is already there. So what can we do to even expand that? Because from what I understand, and if I have this wrong, by all means, I'm here for correction. But the $25,000 program or credit that Kamala is talking about giving to first-time home buyers, from my understanding, that the people can't have like any evictions on their credit. Your credit really has to be super, super pristine, right? And we know that the difficulty in obtaining a mortgage, especially in such a tight rental market where rents are so high, and unfortunately, a lot of people are being evicted from their housing, it just still puts them in a very precarious position that they still can't be able to purchase a home, regardless, even if they have the $25,000 credit. If their actual credit is not good because they have been housing insecure during this fucked up time, then what? Anyway, Guan will. Thank you.
The steps that you're talking about now, why haven't you done them already?
Good question.
Well, first of all, we had to recover as an economy, and we have done that. I'm very proud of the work that we have done that has brought inflation down to less than 3%. The work that we have done to cap the cost of insulin at $35 a month for seniors. Donald Trump said he was going to do a number of things, including allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices. Never happened. We did it. So now, as I travel in the state of Georgia and around our country, the number of seniors that have benefited. I was in Nevada recently, a grandmother who showed me her receipts. And before we capped the cost of insulin for seniors at $35 a month, she was paying hundreds of dollars up to thousands of dollars a month for her insulin. She's not doing that
You
anymore.
maintain Bidenomics is a
Pause that for me
success.
real quick. Listen, capping the price of insulin for seniors is great. Is the cap priced for everybody? Is it capped for children who have type 1 diabetes? You know what I'm saying? Like, is it because I don't think I do not think that this is capped for all persons. And to say that it's capped for seniors is fantastic, but unfortunately, seniors are not the only ones in this country that happens to be experiencing high levels of obesity, high blood pressure, and all the things that come along with that, including diabetes. Again, this piecemeal incremental bullshit that Democrats like to thump their chest about. You do breadcrumbs. You literally do fucking crumbs and really think that somebody should be patting you on the back for it. And I'm not impressed. I'm happy for seniors that the price is capped. I am not happy for everyone else that requires daily use of insulin that is not able to benefit from $35 of insulin. Continue, Will. Thank you.
I maintain that when we do the work of bringing down prescription medication for the American people, including capping the cost of the annual cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000, when we do what we did in the first year of being in office to extend the child tax credit so that we cut child poverty in America by over 50%. When
Drink
we do
every
what we
time.
have done to
She talks about
invest
the
in the
child tax
American
credit.
people and bringing manufacturing back to the United States so that we created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs, bringing business back to America, what we have done to improve the supply chain so we're not relying on foreign governments to supply American families with their basic needs.
Girl, please.
I'll say that that's good work. There's more to do, but that's good work.
I want to get some clarity on where you stand on some key policy issues. Energy is a big one. When you were in Congress, you supported the Green New Deal. And in 2019, you said, quote, "There is no question I'm in favor of banning fracking." Fracking, as you know, is a pretty big issue, particularly in your must-win state of Pennsylvania.
Sure.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020, that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
In 2019, I believe, at a town hall, you said, you were asked, would you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking on your first day in office? And you said, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So yes. So it changed in that campaign?
In 2020, I made very clear where I stand. We are in 2024, and I've not changed that position, nor will I going forward. I kept my word, and I will keep my word.
What made you change that position at the time?
Well, let's be clear. My values have not changed. I believe it is very important that we take seriously what we must do to guard against what is a clear crisis in terms of the climate. And to do that, we can do what we have accomplished thus far. The Inflation Reduction Act, what we have done to invest, by my calculation, over probably $1 trillion over the next 10 years, investing in a clean energy economy. What we've already done, creating over 300,000 new clean energy jobs. That tells me, from my experience as vice president, we can do it without banning fracking. In fact, Dana, excuse me, I cast the tie-breaking vote that actually increased leases for fracking as vice president. So I'm very clear
Wow.
about where I stand.
And was there
Whoa,
some
pause that.
policy?
Whoa, to me, that is very damning. Will, keep us at that point and bring us up the next clip, please, because I wanted to find that clip where she did say in a CNN town hall that she would ban fracking. Now, gang, I know the environment is an odd issue, at least politically, because Democrats really have to counter the drill baby drill Republican narrative, because Republicans don't give a fuck about the environment, right? It's so wild that a people of a political ideology that really prides themselves kind of on this sort of, redneck identity or hillbilly identity. We like to go hunting, fishing, and cooning and trapping and all that shit. Why do y'all want to go fish in fucking polluted waters? Like, why do you want to go hunt in over hunted areas, or where wilderness used to be? It's being fucked up by the overfelling of the trees, too much timber being cut down, pollutants being put into the streams and the rivers and the waterways that you can't even eat the shit that comes out of the fucking water. Like, conservatives and Republicans specifically, they don't ever campaign on climate shit. They just say the shit ain't happening. Meanwhile, Texas keeps flooding. Meanwhile, the Mississippi, all the way from damn Minnesota to fucking Louisiana, floods out. We got in these big hurricanes, tornadoes are stronger, wildfires are stronger. Republicans are like, this shit is pretend. But the Democrats know better, and let this be a glaring example of their hypocrisy and their contradictions. For those that don't know, fracking is a horrible method of extraction of natural gas. It requires water, would be drinkable water, right? It puts out so many horrible pollutants to break through the shale rock to extract the natural gas, and the methane levels that are released as a result of fracking wells dwarf the amount of carbon dioxide emissions, the CO2, that's the bad shit in the air. Oh, methane, honey, is way, way worse. Way, 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 way worse. And it heats up the atmosphere at a much, much, much higher pace. And who helped to hasten the expansion of fracking in this fucking country, Democrats, Barack Hussein Obama, and look, Kamala beating her chest. Yeah, it was my vote. I cast the tying vote in order to put more methane in the atmosphere. Yep, that was me. So anyway, let's watch this hypocritical. Ooh, y'all, when I saw this clip, I said it's going to take some effort, some restraint on my part to not call her a see you next Tuesday. Okay. It was going to take some effort for me not to refer to her as a see you next Tuesday, because y'all know how I feel about the environment and I don't like motherfuckers playing in our goddamn face. We'll run that town hall clip from CNN from 2019.
Question, I'm in favor of banning fracking.
Started from the beginning, my brothers.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So yeah, and starting with what we can do on day one around public lands, right? And then there has to be legislation. But yes, and this is something I've taken on in California. I have a history of working on this issue. And to your point, we have to just acknowledge that the residual impact of fracking is enormous in terms of the impact on the health and safety of communities. Yeah, so thank you.
So would you ban offshore drilling?
Yes, and I've, again, worked on that.
I'm sorry. Ooh, that's okay. I won't call her a see you next Tuesday, but can I describe it? Is there an adjective? Can I say that is cunty behavior? Can I say that? Is that allowed? Is that, well, it's meant to be disrespectful. I was going to ask, is it disrespectful? That is the intent. Yes, the disrespect is wholly intended here. So I won't call her a see you next Tuesday. I will just describe that flip-flop and that contradiction as cunty. So there you go. Kamala and the Democrats alleged climate activists, alleged friends of the environment, actually giving no fucks about the environment. She acknowledged that she understands how damaging fracking is, and she just said that in this week's interview, that nope, she won't ever ban fracking. Look at that. Look at that. I love this. I love this for us, guys. We have no friends in power. Neither does the earth. Well, let's continue on with this shammery of, as it were, of an interview.
Or scientific data that you saw that you said, oh, okay, I get it now?
What I have seen is that we can grow and we can increase a thriving clean energy economy without banning fracking.
No, we can't.
We built
Cannot with the methane. See, the methane's a really big problem. And this is the thing I'm talking about, everybody. Kamala is very happy to lie and play in your face. She is happy to be a stooge of big oil, big corporations, and fuck Tim Walz. While we on Timmy Balls to the walls, all the indigenous folks in northern Minnesota who have been actioning for a long time against that Enbridge Line 3. What was that? The tar sands pipeline coming from Canada, pumping this disgusting shit that comes into the United States. These pipelines spill with frequency. They rupture with frequency. That usually doesn't make the news. And not to mention the amount of violence that comes along with the construction of these pipelines, because you have all these fuckers coming in to build these pipelines. And what usually accompanies that? Increased sexual violence against Native women and women in general. Yikesies. Is that the end of part one, Will? Because if it is, we can move along to part two.
Yep.
Part two. All right, let's go on to part two. Thank you so much to Will. Thank you so much to all watching. Do us a favor, please. Like the video, like, share, subscribe. Let's burn it down with Kim Brown. So, all right, let's get into the part two. And the reason we're only watching two parts of this interview and not all three is because the final 10 minutes of Dana Bash's interview was all about a bunch of shit I didn't give a fuck about, about, Kamala Harris, your niece was on stage, or your people was on stage and you didn't. It was a whole bunch of, feature fawnery, trying to humanize them. I'm not interested in your backstory. I want to know about your policies. What are you going to do, Kamala and Timmy Walz? That's all I care. But anyway, let's go ahead and run part two, Will.
Another issue, big one, is immigration. Mm-hmm. As Vice President, you were tasked with addressing the root causes of migration in southern countries. And
Northern part of Central America.
the northern
in
part
particular, yeah.
of Central America that deals with, that affects the southern border of the U.S. During the Biden-Harris administration, there were record numbers of illegal border crossings. Why did the Biden-Harris administration wait 3.5 years to implement sweeping asylum restrictions?
Well, first of all, the root causes work that I did as vice president, that I was asked to do by the president, has actually resulted in a number of benefits, including historic investments by American businesses in that region. The number of immigrants coming from that region has actually reduced since we began that work. But I will say this, that Joe Biden and I and our administration worked with members of the United States Congress on an immigration issue that is very significant to the American people and to our security, which is the border. And through bipartisan work, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, a bill was crafted, which we supported, which I support. And Donald Trump got word of this bill that would have contributed to securing our border, and because he believes that it would not have helped him politically, he told his folks in Congress, don't put it forward. He killed the bill. A border security bill that would have put 1,500 more agents on the border. And let me tell you something, the Border Patrol endorsed the bill. And I'm sure in large part because they knew they were working around the clock, and 1,500 more agents would help them. That bill would have allowed us to increase seizures of fentanyl. Ask any community in America that has been devastated by fentanyl what passing that bill would have done to address their concern and a pain that they've experienced.
So you would
Hold
push
on.
that legislation again. I just want to
Not
ask
only
about
push it,
Pause it real quick. So a couple of things here. A lack of follow-up. There's a follow-up right there Dana Bash is about to ask. But I'm curious about the first part of her answer, Kamala Harris, when she said that there have been many American businesses that have opened up in and around the border to assist, I guess, with border security or whatever the fuck. Who? What? What kind of industries? What are you talking about? What kind of businesses? And what kind of incentives were these businesses given? And what exactly do they do to contribute to what you say has been the reduction of migrants coming across the border? And if there has been a reduction of migrants, to what extent? Do we have numbers? Do we have empirical data? What are we basing this on? And to her second part of the answer, where she talks about she and the Democrats work closely with the most conservative members of Congress to come up with an immigration bill. Basically, what the Democrats did is gave the Republicans everything that they asked for. Okay. Democrats are not here. They are not the foil of the Republicans. They are not the foil. They are not the enemy of Republicans. In fact, a lot of times Democrats happily capitulate and coalesce with whatever the fuck these conservatives want. As long as they don't do it with the Freedom Caucus, right? As long as they don't compromise with the villains of the party, like the Matt Gaetzes and the Marjorie Taylor Greens. But the rest of them fucking crackers, oh, they don't have no goddamn problem going in there and backslapping with the most conservative of the congressional members. Joe Biden did that his whole goddamn congressional career. And let me tell you something, kids, didn't work out so well for us. Did not work out so well for Black folks. And as you see here, the way that the Democrats are happily willing to work with Republicans to give migrants the fucking shaft would be working people in this country. We talk about we need more workers. People don't want to work. Well, there's people waiting by the thousands at the border to come and fucking work. And when Kamala talks about she helped to work and establish the root causes, can I get a follow-up on, well, what did you find? What's the answer? And again, hold on. Do you still hear the same old war on drugs rhetoric being trotted out to y'all? Like this is motherfucking 1974 and is Nixon in office, or like this is 1984 and it's Reagan in office, this war on drugs nonsense. Well, the amount of fentanyl being seized across the border, if we had enough border agents, we could get the fentanyl off the streets. Bitch, wake up. Wake up. I was watching this brother talk about why there is more fentanyl in America now than it is opium, right? We used to have a bad heroin problem, guys. We don't have such a bad heroin problem anymore. Know why? Because the fentanyl's out here. You know why? Because poppy and opium are a plant. They have to grow. It has to be harvested. It takes time to ship. It's bulky. It's heavy to I guess to move from Afghanistan to the United States. You know, since the U.S. pulled out of Afghanistan, all the opium lost its ride. it lost its transportation over to the U.S. And then, ka-ching, what happens? Fentanyl. Fentanyl is manufactured. It is manufactured cheaply. For every I don't even know how fentanyl comes. Does it come by the pound? Does it come by the kilo? I don't know. For every kilo, let's say, fuck it, a kilo of fentanyl probably killed a whole goddamn city with a kilo of fentanyl. But for every kilo of fentanyl that gets seized at the border, baby, a new kilo has already been manufactured and is ready for shipment and delivery, okay? So let us get this fucking naivete that we're going to seize all the drugs across the border. Since when? Please show me the year, decade, era in which America was ever able to get a grasp or a serious hold of the so-called war on drugs and drugs pouring across the border, guys. And let us wake up and shake ourselves of this immaturity and naivete. Guys, the war on drugs is allowed to flourish because it is a moneymaker. You just heard Kamala. It's a jobs opportunity. We need 1,500 more Border Patrol agents to stop the war on drugs. It is a job maker, baby. You want to talk about creating jobs? Oh my gosh. Imagine if drugs were legalized. What the fuck would all these cops do with themselves? Anyway, that's a rhetorical question. Anyway, so resume, Will. Thank you.
I will make sure that it comes to my desk and I would sign it.
Just one other question about something that you said in 2019 when you first ran. There was a debate. You raised your hand when asked whether or not the border should be decriminalized. Do you still believe that?
I believe there should be consequence. We have laws that have to be followed and enforced that address and deal with people who cross our border illegally, and there should be consequence. And let's be clear, in this race, I'm the only person who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations who traffic in guns, drugs, and human beings. I'm the only person in this race who actually served a border state as Attorney General to enforce our laws, and I would enforce our laws as president going forward. I recognize the problem.
Generally speaking, how should voters
pause real quick,
look at some of the changes that you've made?
Let me just say this real quick. I won't call her see you next Tuesday, but this is very cunty answers here because she is essentially criminalizing people that are coming across the border as transnational criminals that are running drugs and guns. Does anybody honestly, when you see the pictures and the videos and the stories of the people coming at trying to attempt to cross at the southern border, I'm sorry, if they had guns and drugs, they'd have been over the border. Shit, they would have had the fucking money. If they had the guns and the drugs, they would not be waiting in fucking Nogales. You feel me? They wouldn't be on the other side of the border. They'd already been crossed the border. And she's talking about that there's consequence. We have to follow the laws. We used to be able to let people come here and claim asylum. Okay? Political asylum, any fucking kind of asylum. I don't understand what is the problem with that. It's heartless to deny people opportunities in which, number one, the reason they don't have opportunities is because America has thieved all of the resources from their countries and their shit is here. Okay? Honduras shit is over here. Guatemala shit, El Salvador shit is over here. So that's why the Hondurans and the Guatemalans and the El Salvadorians is coming to fuck over here because this is where they shit is. America fucked up their homelands and has created all kinds of myriad of problems, social, economic, political, environmental, and they are coming here because this is where the opportunities are. The opportunities are not where they live or where they're from because America fucked that up for them with intention. And for Kamala to equivocate those people who are coming across the border with so-called, quote, transnational criminals smuggling guns and drugs is a really fucked up thing to do, to conflate those two things and to even put those two things in the same answer. Not see you next Tuesday, but kind of cunty. Go ahead, Will.
That you explained some of here in your policy. Is it because you have more experience now and you've learned more about the information? Is it because you were running for president in a Democratic primary? And should they feel comfortable and confident that what you're saying now is going to be your policy moving forward?
Dana, I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed. You mentioned the Green New Deal. I have always believed, and I have worked on it, that the climate crisis is real, that it is an urgent matter to which we should apply metrics that include holding ourselves to deadlines around time.
Which we haven't.
We did that with the Inflation Reduction Act. We
No,
have set
no.
goals for the United States of America and by extension the globe around when we should meet certain standards for reduction of greenhouse gas emissions as
And
an
we have
example.
not
That value
adhered to
has
that.
not changed.
No,
My
we haven't
value
adhered to
around
it.
what we need to do to secure our border, that value has not changed. I spent 2 terms as the Attorney General of California prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, violations of American laws
Oh my God.
regarding the illegal passage of guns, drugs, and human beings across our border.
You're
My
gross.
values have not changed.
You're gross.
So that is the reality of it. And 4 years of being vice president, I'll tell you, one of the aspects to your point is traveling the country extensively. I mean, I'm here in Georgia, I think somebody told me 17 times since I've been vice president in Georgia alone. I believe it is important to build consensus. And it is important to find a common place of understanding of where we can actually solve problems.
On that note, you had a lot of Republican speakers at the convention. Will you appoint a Republican to your cabinet?
Yes, I would.
Anyone
Yes,
in
I
mind?
would. No one in particular in mind. We got 68 days to go with this election, so I'm not putting the cart before the horse, but I would. I think it's really important. I have spent my career inviting diversity of opinion. I think it's important to have people at the table when some of the most important decisions are being made that have different views, different experiences. And I think it would be to the benefit of the American public to have a member of my cabinet who was a Republican.
Oh, okay, that's enough.
So I want to ask you about your
Hold on.
opponent.
You know what? I might be already tired of this. Can I say this really quickly? It's so hilarious when Democrats, in particular liberals, talk about building consensus. Do they ever talk about building consensus with the Green Party or with socialists or with the Party of Socialism and Liberation or with any myriad of differing political ideologies that are further left than Democrats? Nope, they always talk about working with Republicans, right? They would love to work with the Klan. It's wild. And I can only assume because they themselves are Klan, right? I mean, like if the Republicans are Klan, the Democrats are absolutely the White Citizens Council, right? And look at Kamala. She's so happy to have a seat at the table at the White Citizens Council. Lucky her. Lucky her. They always want to make friends with the Republicans. I would appoint a Republican to my cabinet. Would you, bitch? Would you really? What about someone else that had some better ideas than, say, a fucking Republican? What about somebody further on the left? Oh, those people don't exist. Oh, you're not interested in building consensus with them. Oh, that's not the diversity of thought that you're talking about. Got it. We see. Thank you so much for clearing that up, Madam Vice President. Kamala did not impress here, everybody. She, in my opinion, underwhelmed. And I think that was actually the whole point, right? Kamala's doing some things very intentionally here. She's not trying to come across, as the angry black woman. She's not, trying to clap back at Trump. She's not even really trying to point out that she is black and a woman, right? I just so happen to be, right. Okay. It's okay to highlight that thing because it should be important, but not the only thing, right? We understand from our perspective that identity politics is a folly. Like simply because someone is black and woman or a woman, it doesn't mean that they necessarily have the best interest of black people or women in mind, especially when they're there to serve the interest of the elite, which Kamala absolutely is. And you see her already forsaking her quote values, shit that she believed in 5 years ago. She don't believe in that shit now. No, I've banned fracking. The fuck? Why would I ever do that? So why would you do that? It's because it's the right thing to do. Decriminalize border crossings, no, I uphold the law. I prosecute border crossers like they was traffickers and running guns and drugs. I cannot stand not only the flagrant hypocrisy, and I want y'all to make sure, because I know how y'all feel, but make sure that you point out these contradictions to the people in your life that are clapping their hands and stomping their feet and yes, queening for fucking Kamala. Okay, she's a cop, guys. Okay, and in 2024, Democrats are what Republicans were in 1985. Okay, like there is no quote progressive lean leftward for Democrats. They in fact seemingly becoming more conservative, and they're very pleased to let you know that they will gladly work with conservatives. They will appoint conservatives, and we know what conservatives uphold as their values, right? Corporatism over everything, white supremacy over everything, police and military over everything, which to me also sounds like the values of the Democrats. So we're gonna watch this shit. And maybe Kamala will say something else besides expanding the child care tax credit. Maybe we'll get something with a name, right? A policy with a name. Can I get a number on the whatever she intends to raise the federal minimum wage to? Have y'all heard a number? If it's anything less than $15, she can shove it up her ass. Okay. And I say all this, and I know some people, you shouldn't disrespect the vice president. First of all, I disrespect presidents, okay? Biden, Trump, Obama, Bush, Clinton, Bush, Reagan, pick a president. Fuck these niggas. And if she become one, fuck her too. Anyway, Kamala is out here Republicaning up at fantastic levels, and you better tell a friend to tell a friend.